Hola, el 2, sí, hola, buen día.
We're waiting for the streaming signal to start.
Yeah, it's okay. I just told her I'm so happy because we are all women.
Sí, porque la mesa anterior eran todos hombres. Van a subir después. Sí, moderadora. Sí, adelante. Hola, hola. Buenos días, bienvenidos a...
Hello, good morning. Welcome to this session of civil society and local government alliances to advance the food system transformation. In this session, we're going to know some international experiences, well, international projects which stem from this alliance. And during our second part, we'll look more into the Barcelona case through Agropolis space and its most relevant projects. We have quite a number of speakers, so we start from Amaranta Herrero, who is the strategic coordinator of the World Capital of Sustainable Food, and she's going to give us the context of this, the importance of this type of alliances. And then Hürrem Betül from Turkey, from Mezitli, which is the coordinator of the Union of Healthy Cities of Turkey. And then we'll have Marina Morgatello from Rosario in Argentina, who is the general coordinator for the innovation of the food chain in Rosario, Argentina. And that's it for the moment. And then we shall continue from here on. And I will now leave the floor to Amaranta. Hi. Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today, that you've come here with us. This session expects to give visibility to the fact that the transformation of the agri-alimentary system, which has to take place quickly and urgently, implies or attains to everyone. The local governments cannot do on their own, and the transformation of the food system involves the private and public sectors, the scientific community, and civil society. And in this session, we precisely wanted to focus it from the beginning on making visible all those collaborations and alliances that exist between local governments and civil society at large, which in many cases are those who propose projects which in fact are transforming the city food system. This has happened in Barcelona. This year we are carrying out a project called the World Capital of Sustainable Food, with the project of placing the food system transformation in the center of the political agenda and the social debate. In order to do that, in the large majority of projects, if not all, we have created alliances and complicities with institutions and organizations of the society which are already materializing an alternative sustainable food system. In this first part, as I said, we have representatives from cities who tell us from their perspective. We want to take advantage of this international forum with representatives of cities from the world, from the whole world, and we take advantage. We want to make good these alliances between civil society and government, local governments, what type of dialogue we can create. So the first panel is this. We talk more from the point of view of citizens, and the next one will be from the point of view of the civil society. Questions that may stimulate the dialogue is how alliances can accelerate the transformation of the food system. What are the opportunities and challenges? What types of collaboration do work? What are those limits or restrictions that we have to overcome somehow? And what experiences in this respect? Well, we, the representatives of Barcelona institutions can explain their experiences, which can be inspiring or they can be replicated in other contexts. So all these, all the institutions which we'll speak later are linked or related to a project by the municipality of Barcelona, which is the co-participated space Agropolis, which was created precisely with the intention of generating this space so that organizations and institutions in Barcelona already working for the food system transformation could have a space of dialogue with the local government. There are 3 working lines. It is a political space where you can propose things and check things and act on the public policy on sustainable food system and to exchange best practices, knowledge, and coordinate the action between the different stakeholders and working areas. And is a space that we want to be a co-creation space of projects where they can escalate it or different projects can be created if they're coming from the participants into this space. It is a space that groups together over 100 entities. It was created in 2019, and now, this month, it has started a new stage, a new phase of dynamic development, and we hope it will be fruitful. And 4 things about Barcelona. Barcelona does not have a food council. It does not have a food strategy, and it will be developed in November. it will begin being developed in November. It will be elaborated in November, and the idea of the project of the world sustainable, the capital of the world sustainability, is to create a project that helps the city of Barcelona to place the food system in the center of the political agenda. So, I now leave the floor to Hürrem.
Shall we start my presentation? Okay, which one? Here, I think. Okay. Yes. From where? Pushing this one, what? Yes, now. Hi, my name is Hürrem. I'm coming from Mezitli municipality, which is located in Mediterranean seaside coast of Turkey. And next slide, I will show you a short video regarding to our city. Mezitli municipality tries to create a circular system for reaching all sustainable development goals and its targets with volunteers, locals, and civil society. Today I'll share with you 5 of our projects, which is Women Producers Market, Urban Agriculture Project, and Women Producers Cooperative, and Healing Mezitli, and Waste Management Projects. Yes. We are trying to develop our projects under that 8 sustainable development goals, which is no poverty, which is good health and well-being, sustainable cities and communities, affordable and clean energy, and gender equality, partnerships for the goals, and life on land, and decent work and economic growth for all. How shall we start this one? Okay, this is Mezitli. A short video. That video give you a little bit info. Could you open this one also? This is Women Producers Markets short video that you can see how our Women Producers Markets are in Mezitli.
There is life in Mezitli.
These are
Together.
Our women producers from agricultural areas and
Careful.
also from the city center.
Efficient, strong, resistant,
Our producers are located in the whole city area, not
Ready,
just for agricultural
practical.
rural areas, but also from the city center.
experienced, happy, producing women.
We developed that project with our volunteer women assembly members and also volunteered ladies from the city.
Self-confident, full of hope. There is life in this market.
And I would like to give a brief description regarding to our women producers markets and our women's. As you know, in Turkey, unemployment and social pressure on women's participation to working environment is the main challenge. And what I mean with social pressure is women are not used to work at outside of their houses as a professional businesswoman. Turkish family culture and government await be a mom, wife, sister, daughter from a woman. None of the public organizations provide child care for moms from 0 to 6 age of kids. Men do not encourage women for being a businesswoman. Our municipality established a kindergarten and cares kids from 36 months to 60 months before primary school as a beginning. So we try to provide opportunity for women to be a businesswoman in the city life. The women producers market model and physical environment established by the needs and abilities of women living in Mezitli as an accessible construction. Mezitli women will produce fresh fruit and vegetables at the hills, at their houses, gardens, handcraft and handmade food products at their homes in the city center. Yes. And this is one of our experiences. This is a women producers cooperative. We call them Solinova. And Solinova Mezitli Women Producers Cooperative's members are all women and mostly producers from urban lands located at the city center. So volunteer landlords, landowners, let women who wants to produce fresh fruits and vegetables at the city center without any money, without any cost. They just land them. And landlords and our mayor, Neşet Tarhan, provide them urban lands for producing fresh fruit and vegetables. And also, these urban lands are the ones with high-level development rights. I don't know if you understand when I say development rights. I mean, for example, one of the slots, the landlord will develop a 16 floors apartment. But now he isn't doing that. He isn't doing that development. Even he is going to be earn lots of money, you know. But he lets the landlords letting our women to produce fresh fruit and vegetables till they start their development. So they can use these areas for fresh fruit and vegetables in the city center. And also women producers at urban agriculture lands sign assignments with the women cooperative and being a partner of the cooperative. They sell their products at free markets without any cost, women's. And Mezitli municipality's role at that process is like a catalyst. We make them all together. We try to make them coming together and sharing their needs and trying to provide them a neutral platform for their partnerships. And women producers calling seasons for planting seeds, harvestings for seasons. For example, you will see right side, they are going to produce corns. And before seeding them, they did a call to all seasons, and they all make that process together with the seasons. And that made citizens to develop belonging and ownership on urban agriculture and products also. Yes, this is. And also Solinova Mezitli Women Producers Cooperatives partners are women and mostly producers from urban lands located at the city center, and cooperative members producing fresh fruit and vegetables, high value added products like marmalade, pomegranate juice or citrus syrup, or dried tomatoes, dried fruits and vegetables. They have a place, they have a small house where they can dry vegetables and they can cook marmalade and that kind of products. They have almost maybe 20 partners. They are so small, but they have their belief and they would like to grow up more and more. Yes. This is another project in another stage. This is related to waste of our producers' markets. After the daily producers' markets selling process, at the end of the day, there's a huge number of vegetables waste in our markets. And our volunteers are coming together for making a compost area with that wastes. And we as Mezitli municipality and our volunteers are almost 150 people from our citizens. They are professors, they are entrepreneurs, they are housewives, they are moms, fathers or youths, kids, with partners, with parents or grandparents. Sometimes they will come with their grandpaps, and they are all working together. And from not only Mezitli, but also from the neighbor cities of Mezitli, they will join us. And we have an influencer from Mardin. Mardin is another city of Turkey. It's on the east side of Turkey. And we have a volunteer woman who is trying to spread that waste management process and volunteerness on that business to the all of the Turkey. And we are working together with her in that project. Our volunteer groups collect and separate organic food waste from plastic, wood, paper, and etc. and wastes at food markets 7 days a week between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. with our municipality's staff. They will work together. I mean, the volunteers and our municipality's staff working together for that waste management. Yes. Could you open the video again?
Bunları alalım böyle. Çoğu olay yerine
Merhaba, ben Erdal.
This is one of our volunteers.
Ben Sema Olgun.
Introducing herself.
Merhaba,
And
ben
she's a chemical engineer.
Hemşireyim.
And she's nurse, and she's a retired academician from the
İyi
university.
akşamlar. Ben
And
Mezitli
he's our
Belediyesi'nden Gece
staff.
Pazar ekibinden Mustafa Elmalı.
Topraklarımızı iyileştirmek için gönüllü olarak çalışıyorum. Mersin Mezitli'deyim.
Topraklarımızı onarmak için gönüllü olarak çalışıyorum. Mersin Mezitli'deyim.
Topraklarımızı onarmak için gönüllü olarak
They are
çalışıyorum.
saying we are trying to
Mersin
heal
Mezitli'deyim.
our sense and working as a volunteer with Mezitli.
Mersin Mezitli.
Yaptığımız işin ciddiyetinde olarak yeşillikleri ve kompost malzemeyi toplayıp kompost alanına katı atıkları toplayıp katı atık depolama istasyonuna gönderiyoruz. Gönüllülere teşekkür ederiz. Bize fazlasıyla yardımcı oluyor. Teşekkür ederiz. İyi akşamlar.
Our staff thanking to our volunteers for their big effort on that process. And I would like to thank you for listening to me. I think my time is over. Thank you very much.
Hola, muy buenos días a todos.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure being here, sharing experiences with Barcelona and Turkey. After seeing this, I really want to go to Turkey. I don't know if we can see my presentation on the screen. I come from Rosario. I'll show you some figures. The city of Rosario is in the heart of the Argentine Republic. We are in the center of the humid Pampa. We have an industrial port and commercial profile. 80% of cereal production of the country are exported from the ports of Gran Rosario, 1 million inhabitants, and the surface is about 178 square kilometers and 120 square kilometers urbanized. I would like to show you a video of the city that summarizes, I'll stop it for a moment, summarizes our urban agriculture and green belts program. It summarizes it, and this public policy has been on for the last 20 years. There have been different managers and different stakeholders. The civil society belong to it or participate in it. It's 3 or 4 minutes. It's a bit long, but it's going to be graphic. Many images which show you what our reality is like.
En la ciudad de Rosario en el 2001 no fue ajena al país por la crisis económica, social, política. Como los alimentos se duplicaron por 4 en su valor, la gente se quedó de pronto sin acceso a los alimentos y bueno, hubo situaciones de asalto a los supermercados y a su vez Rosario está muy expuesta al tema de inundaciones y cambio climático por el crecimiento urbano que tiene.
Y ahí nosotros aprendimos que hay un montón de tierras vacantes y si nosotros los podíamos ocupar para hacer huerta, en este caso parque huerta, y transformar esos lugares que antes estaban, como no se podían urbanizar, estaban, digamos, con basura y se rescataron esos lugares, se transformaron hoy en pequeños paraísos que hay en distintos lugares de la ciudad.
Y nosotros trabajamos y a través de la municipalidad canalizamos nuestras ventas. Tenemos 3 bocas de venta. Tenemos ferias, entonces tenemos pedidos de bolsones y entonces llevamos nuestros bolsones. Pero por sobre todas las cosas, nosotros consumimos.
Nuestro emprendimiento Suelo Común más Huerta de mi Tierra se vincula básicamente con los productores del periurbano, del proyecto Cinturón Verde, dentro del espacio sumando, digamos, a la agricultura urbana, los alimentos agroecológicos en muchas aristas. No estamos hablando solo de lo nutricional, no estamos hablando, digamos, de lo estético, estamos hablando de manejo de la biodiversidad, del ambiente, de lo social, de qué producimos.
Esta área corre en superficie y puede, en caso de copiosa lluvia, inclusive estas áreas es como que tienen un declive hacia la ciudad misma. Para preservar posibles inundaciones, el hecho de preservar estas áreas como áreas absorbentes es muy importante. También tienen importancia en lo que se llama la isla de calor. Son áreas que pueden moderar el tema del clima por ser áreas que son áreas verdes, áreas que absorben calor y también por la captación que hacen de dióxido de carbono.
30 años para la vida de una persona son muchos, pero para una idea no es nada. Cuando yo empecé éramos en el país 10 locos que estábamos con este tema, éramos muy poquitos. La idea es que esto se multiplique en todos los lugares libres que hay en Rosario, porque la agroecología beneficia a todo el mundo, o sea, no tiene enemigos, transforma todo, el tema del cambio climático, el tema de incluir de lo social.
Yo creo que hay un debate de futuro que post pandemia va a cobrar todavía más fuerza, que es cómo combinamos la generación de empleos con la sustentabilidad. La sustentabilidad en términos ambientales, pero también la sustentabilidad en términos sociales. Esa cadena de empleos es una cadena que no solo permite la autosustentabilidad en la producción de alimentos, sino que también genera una cultura de la sustentabilidad y de la asociación.
Mi sueño es que todos los espacios verdes que todavía está quedando dentro del bosque se pueda hacer realidad y que se pueda cultivar. Para trabajar la pobreza nos tenemos que integrar entre todos.
Me parece que las generaciones futuras van a tener una mejor calidad de vida, hasta para poder vivir más, llevarse mejor, disfrutar de lo que hacen y bueno, eso contribuye a la felicidad de la familia.
Bueno,
I thought it was worthwhile seeing these images and the different stakeholders to tell you firsthand the importance of sustaining over time the public policies, and to that effect it is key to maintain certain alliances. The governments change, but the policies must persist over time. So there's a public policy since over 20 years after the 2001 crisis that was terrible in our country, institutional, social, economic, and this program started off in the first place as a situation of attention to the economic urgency to help, to strategically help the most vulnerable population with healthy food and with low income. In this context, it was key to articulate the local government with the stakeholders of the territory, and the main stakeholders were the social organizations, the neighborhood organizations and schools. Over time, after the emergency, the urban agriculture got consolidated as a permanent activity. And here, we started working on larger surfaces, on better equipment, and the main stakeholders were the producers, the network of local producers, and different international stakeholders who helped us have access to some resources to better equip our spaces and to work as more direct producers. And since 2016, the city of Rosario started off the Green Belt program, which is complementary to the urban agriculture, which wants to transform agricultural producers to agroecology. It is 300 hectares, which is a large space. So the goal is to achieve a healthy production without pollutants, and that brings health to the consumers to make the short marketing chains dynamic. And this is to be articulated with stakeholders on government, university, technical institution, and civil society, with different colors that the political parties may have, but it is a big effort to articulate all those political policies all along the chain, and thanks to the generosity and the organization and the social society. What are our achievements in Rosario altogether to date? We have 126 hectares of agroecological production, 157 agroecological transition, 7 parks with orchards, 9 community orchards, 380 producers involved, 65% are women, making reference to Turkey, 6,300 tons of agroecological food, and in 2001, it was a challenge. It was an event in the Rosario area, and COVID-19 impacted us like everyone, and now we have a new challenge. We increase the demand of food from the most vulnerable sectors, the institutions, lots of institutions that were always central to provide food assistance and the luncheons and from the local government. Once more, we need to articulate with institutions of the third sector, articulate with the civil society, something basic, which was to channel the food help in the most critical time of the pandemics. And in this scenario, we had a crisis again, and it requires the local government to think about new strategies, on one hand, to articulate the food assistance and articulate it with the local availability. And in this context, we have an alliance for innovation and sustainability. It is a great institutional agreement between private, public, academic, and non-governmental organizations, sectors of the town, to create a sustainable food system which is innovative on a local level, starting from the collaboration and joint action. We have to rethink our food system, as I've said at the beginning, and to rethink our food system, we have to work together. To think first, which is key, what type of city we want to bring forward, and to achieve it all together. So this alliance, somehow, what we seek, that was the agreement with the different city stakeholders. I have run out of time, but I only want to mention that we understand that this alliance is adequate, is pertinent in this context, because it puts together the will and participation of all the stakeholders of the town. They create a general framework that sets the bases and makes it possible to come to later institutional agreements and promoting the active involvement of institutions of the city whose members guarantee the accessibility to food and to healthy food, and it is a strategic access to guarantee the commitments accepted in the Milan covenant, and this is the way in which our agreement, and we want to work on the 6 dimensions that the agreement proposes. And that's all from me. I want to be very strict on time. Thank you.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Thank you for that. Any questions to start us off now? We have a bit of time for questions.
Tenía curiosidad sobre.
I'm curious about what do you do with the compost that you make? You said that you have a lot of volunteers who go out to the markets to collect the food waste to make compost. What is done with the compost? How is the compost distributed? Is it community property? How does it work?
In the process now, we started that project in August, and in 4 months we are planning. I mean, in the mid of November, we are planning to have that compost, and after having that compost, we are planning to manage a process with composted plants and non-composted plant. And then we want to see the plants growing up process. Then we would like to share that info with the whole citizens. And also we are going to use that compost in our agricultural areas. I mean, we are planning to spread them or distribute that compost to our agricultural producers, the city producers, and also rural areas. Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, just a quick question. I love both presentations, especially the Mezitli with the perspective of gender perspective. Also, it's really nice. I have a doubt regarding to the case or the impact of technologies as a channel of consumption, of food consumption. Is one of the main impacts that the pandemia process or the pandemia period of time has highlighted. How the people is increasing the way that they are using technology in order to consume food. This is connected in the perspective of public policies in both cities, or there are some elements that is already planning how to engage people in the use of technology as a channel, or how the sustainability of the food sustainability is connected to the use of technology, digital technologies?
In our case, food distribution or delivery systems are being managed by private sector. So as a public body, we are not, of course, we are delivering food for the ones who need it as a public authority, but this is not, I mean, maybe our distribution will be just 5% or 2% of the whole market. So this is not really our business, I mean. So we are not really deep in that.
Sí, sin duda creo que la tecnología.
Clearly, technology can be an effective tool to strengthen all the processes that have to do with eco-agriculture. At Rosario, or in Rosario, we're attempting to link and generate traceability around, or shall we say, have the characteristics of our farmers and producers, knowing where they are, what they do, how they do, where they market their products, and so forth. Make all that information available to consumers. It's important to see how urban agriculture, ecology, and our agriculture in the green belt, as it is a process that has to do with guaranteeing minimum food supply support to the vulnerable population there. We also have consumers who belong to a more middle class who are very concerned and interested to know where they can get quality food in the city. So facing a lot of challenges in terms of the professionalization of our producers. There's a lot of work ahead of us in that regard to have a systemic structuring of all of this and making it all available to the citizens to offer them these foodstuffs that are produced in a healthy way and also close by. So with that question, we will close out this block and we'll move on to the next one. Thank you. Hi, my name is Isabel. I'm from the Montpellier Metropolitan Authority. How do you work with organizations in the civil society? Are there specific spaces that are devoted to this, or do you hold meetings with them? What kind of financing? Is there financing for these organizations? What are the mechanisms to interact with civil society in each of your cities? Thank you. In the case of Barcelona, since 2019, we have this space called this Agropolis, co-participated Agropolis. We want to work with civil society associations there, but also organizations and bodies from the local council that are involved. And oftentimes, food is such a cross-disciplinary topic. It touches on different departments, health, environment, social services, and so forth. So we want a space where we can have different people from the local council, a multidisciplinary activity inside the local council, which is often difficult to do on these topics. But for this to be a space in which the civil society organizations can also be present and discuss and discover the local council projects, the programs, the problems, the future orientations, and so forth. This began in 2019, and they were holding meetings before I joined this department. I believe they were meetings every 3 months. They were regular meetings, but they weren't very frequent, shall we say. And then the pandemic hit, and they moved to virtual meetings, but it was more difficult because this space that was being generated didn't really congeal. Many civil society organizations were there and interested in sharing this space. And from the Barcelona Local Council for the past 2 years now, we have a budget item for subsidies for food projects. It is a subsidy budget that is disseminated. The information is disseminated to the public in general, and also in this co-participated space. And many of the organizations that came to Agropolis have presented projects, and they've received financing from them within the overall budget that existed for food projects. So that is the story of what has happened in Barcelona. Okay, then, thank you very much to one and all, and we'll now move on with a round of applause for our speakers. And now we'll move on to get to know quickly 6 experiences from Barcelona. These form part of this space that Amaranta just mentioned, the co-participated Agropolis. And we're going to start with Food Co-op. Giulio Cappadona. Food Co-op is responsible for purchasing and logistics of the cooperative supermarket. Mireia from Espigoladors, and Alejandro Guzman from ecocentral, and he will tell us about the Alterbanc experience. We also would like to ask these panelists a question. Aside from explaining your projects to us, could you tell us how have alliances between civil society and local governments reinforced or potentially reinforce, strengthen your projects? How have these alliances strengthened your projects? And so we'll hear from you, and with this question in mind. First, Julia, and then the rest of you. Hello. Thank you very much for the possibility to speak to you here this morning. As Eva has said, my name is Giulio, and I work at Food Co-op Barcelona, the first participative food cooperative in Barcelona. I'm here today because at Food Co-op Barcelona, we want to tell the story and the need for a cooperative supermarket in every city that has signed the Milan Pact, because these supermarkets achieve an increase in ecologic product consumption. As resilient organizations, they also promote responsible consumption. In our case, for example, as a resilient community, in 3 months' time, we have built a community of 300 members, and we have collected over 150,000 euros with these crowd lending mechanisms. And it is also a catalyst for the local economy as it promotes short consumption circuits. There are other supermarkets cooperative supermarkets throughout Europe. In Zaragoza, there's one, La Louve in Paris, and La Cagette in Montpellier. In our case, Food Coop Barcelona is a group of 400 people. And just today, we are beginning works on our new premises. This is a photo of our new store premises on Passaggio d'Aragó. And we will be opening this in January 2022 with a total membership of 500 people. These projects share the trait of being consumer cooperatives, nonprofit, and the members contribute 3 hours of active participation in the shop, which allows us to reduce operating costs and have access to quality products at a more affordable price. And at the same time, the members are involved in decision making, and that is why they choose and decide to consume sustainable, ecological, and kilometer zero products, paying fair prices to the producers. All of this contributes to the achievement of the Milan Pact goals. To answer your question, obviously, we ourselves and other projects that we work with, other cooperative supermarkets that we are in contact with, can receive direct support from the public administration with concessions or special terms for premises, publicity, and even direct financing. And this will definitely have a positive impact for these community projects to flourish and further reinforce this public and community alliance. That's why we're here today, and that's why we're especially grateful for this invitation, because we believe that that alliance is possible and can render positive results. Thank you very much for your attention. Hello and good morning to one and all. Thank you very much for inviting us. It's a pleasure to be here with the 6 other projects, models that we're sharing this roundtable with. I'm going to tell you in general terms, if I can start my presentation, please. Well, then I will tell you about the model of the Espigoladors Foundation, a transformative model with a systemic outlook on food. And why do we begin? Why did we begin? Why do we exist? Because 1 out of 3 food units ends up in the trash, and more than 8% of the population is in risk of poverty without access to a healthy diet. We're now up to 38%, 38% is vulnerable to poverty, which increased due to COVID. We were founded in 2014 to respond to 3 key social needs. 1, to reduce food waste. 2, the lack of access to healthy diets of people in vulnerable situations. There's a right to a healthy diet. In other countries, it has been legislated, but in others, and ours too. And 3, unemployment. We need models that generate employment opportunities for people in situations of vulnerability. Why are we called the Espigoladors? It means gleaning. This is the essence of our organization. To glean is something that was done traditionally in the primary sector. People that didn't have many resources were allowed into the fields to glean the remnants of the harvest. They asked the owners for permission, and they picked up whatever grains were left after the harvest, and then they took them home and made flour, bread, or what have you. So the gleaners is the word we have taken. For our activity, we've dignified it. We've taken gleaning to mean something formal, something regulated and serious, and to also be legislated By law, we have the new food prevention law, and one of the actions that is still pending development is gleaning. So we recover fruits and vegetables that are not marketable for different reasons, either due to production surpluses or price decreases, or simply fruits and vegetables that can't be marketed for aesthetic reasons. Part of these food products, more than 90%, are channeled into food distribution points to promote the right to healthy diets for everyone. Another is to purchase them from local producers, and they enter a preserves workshop where they are converted into creams, pâté, or what have you, and they are sold through different channels back to the market. And we also have a citizens channel that are the advocates to prevent food waste with different programs, different training activities, different food strategies, and so forth. As for gleaning, we have agreements with local producers to enter their fields. When these producers have surpluses, they call us. We form groups of volunteers that go into the fields with someone from the organization, and we collect these foods. Once we've collected them, we have vans from the free food distribution points that come and pick them up. In between 24 and 72 hours, they're in the homes of persons who are in vulnerable situations who can consume them and have healthy diets this way. What is the impact? Of gleaning? There are several. One, reducing waste, and also reducing CO2 emissions that occur if you are throwing food away, and the water that would be wasted if you throw food away. Two, because you are bringing people from the city into contact with the country. It's a reality. There's a disconnection between urban and rural areas. It's necessary for people to feel close to the rural areas, to know the origin and value of foodstuffs. We also visualize local producers and give them publicity. Local producers face a challenge, and the challenge is the lack of the generation takeover. People who can come in and take the place of today's producers. We may end up without farmers and producers. This could change people's awareness among consumers. At the end, we are the final link of the chain, but we're also capable of changing things, buying local, buying responsibly. And last, gleaning provides access to people who are in situations of vulnerability. Our second line of work is a second opportunity workshop. This is a central kitchen in the San Cosme neighborhood in El Prat de Llobregat. This is a neighborhood that has suffered the stigma of being a bad neighborhood. It's a very vulnerable area. And this workshop is also a lab to research food recovery and also works for social justice. At this workshop, they make different preserves, from pâtés, compote, sauce, creams, marmalades of fruits that are local. The brand is imperfect. They're marketed in the Horeca sector, consumption, mass consumption, also for local producers as a house brand, institutional gifts, Christmas packages, and I'm finishing up. And this imperfect brand also generates employment opportunities for people in situations of vulnerability. And this citizens movement, how do we carry it out through different projects in the educational realm, learning, training, workshops on how to recover foods, studies, we quantify the food waste, among other things. And later on in the discussion, I'll be happy to answer your questions, how we interact with the public sector. Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here today. I'm here to talk about Ecocentral and Alterbanc, two real projects. As we've just heard about my preceding colleagues, I'm from the world of cooking. I am a chef, but I changed the term cook for feeder in 2006. That's a way of getting back to the land, back to the earth. We need raw materials as cooks. And we found a lot of eco-agriculture activity, but also disorganized, people running around, not really coordinated, not really getting the publicity that they needed. And we ended up just by chance with a small van and then another and another. Now we have about 100 schools throughout Catalonia, 17 covers a day. Last course, we had 800,000 kilos of fruit, vegetable, and products. 83% is directly purchased from local ecological farmers. And of course, the characteristic of these being prices agreed on with the producers and planned crops. That's very important. And we achieve this in the following way. By changing the distribution model, we no longer speculated with the price of food, not playing with the crystal ball, saying if I have to pay for all my structure, my delivery system, and my rent, I think I'm going to sell this much at this much of a margin. So if the potatoes cost €1 a kilo, I'll charge €40. That's speculation. So we dissociated structural costs from product costs. My structure is covered, and I pay farmers the price of their product. In this absurd but logical model, we've reached all the schools of the some 100 schools that we serve. Only one is a private school. The rest of are public schools, and I think that is a great sign of success. I'm also here to talk about Alterbanc, a distributor to take food, ecological food, fresh ecological food to vulnerable families. It's something that we did not find during the pandemic when schools were closed. A lot of families didn't have access to a diet because if they weren't registered in their municipal registry, they couldn't get social assistance. That's happening here today. And when we get into the monopoly of food banks, Caritas, and the Red Cross, we realized that these vulnerable families were being mistreated. There's something called food abuse. They didn't have access to fresh food, and if it was dry food, they didn't care. If it was Kit Kat, Doritos, or any processed food. So if you are poor and you don't have access to a more elite diet, you'll be condemned to suffering diabetes, obesity, and school failure. So Alterbanc was the answer to this. Why should children have to eat poisoned food? And so I ask myself many things, especially when it comes to school lunchrooms. I have the feeling that we have put the cart before the horse. We do have these data. We are learning, but we are progressing. But families don't care. Most families, most parents don't care. I'm also a father. I also eat pizza. And so I wonder, what's going on? You know, we have this right in front of our face to be able to buy ecologically and responsibly and locally, and we don't do it. So there's a great debate about the advertising that we get. We don't hear much about this. We're not talking about it today, the bombardment of advertising that we're under from the food industry. Mercadona and Joan Roch are the people who tell us what we have to eat. It's not regulated. When I was little, you would go to a birthday party and there would be cigarette advertising. Now, you don't see that. Why should children have to eat 25 hours worth of sugar in their cereal bowl? So, institutionally, There is a big debate underway, and I think the institutions need to get to work on this. And then the public alliances, just to wrap up. I think a public schoolroom is a fallacy. It's not free. The parents pay. If you go to a public hospital, you don't pay for the food. They give it to you. This is a privatization of school lunchrooms. It's also a big mistake to say that the state is not responsible for the educational projects of the future consumers be part of the educational project of the school, that the lunchroom form part of the school. That's a big mistake, to not educate on sustainable food and sustainable diets for the future. Another roadblock that we find is that the health department inspectors in the public institutions are anti-ecological. It's that clear. Fourth phase lettuce, eggs, and a Tetra brick. They don't want real food, and they want like operating room food. And we have to talk to them and get them to support us, because if not, they seem to be hindering us. And also the involvement of public institutions like the local council of Barcelona, which is working very hard. But the free trade law and the competitiveness law doesn't allow you to include in a bid offer that the food must be local. So that is another hindrance to the ecological and local food movement. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And now we will change panelists. Adela Martinez from the Replantem Association, then Ricard Espelt from the Impulsa of Demons of the Open University of Catalonia, and Pau Maragall, Vice President and Production Director of La Olivera from the Can Calopa. And you may give your remarks in that order, and then we'll have a bit of time for questions. Thank you very much.
Hola, buenos días.
Hi, good morning. My name is Adela Martinez, and I represent this project called the 48 Hours of Agriculture and Urban Green, which was created to spread out, disseminate the projects of agriculture, urban agriculture done in Barcelona. The project is created by an association called the Replantem. There's 23 partners, there's companies, associations, people who are enthusiastic about greenery and urban agriculture. There are projects that are trying to disseminate urban traditional agriculture, like orchards, urban orchards, and on terraces, hydroponic, aquaponic, hydroponic, and there are people who are trying to promote the naturalization of cities through architecture, landscaping. People who have orchards in their houses, they're trying to promote that and they're enthusiastic about it. So there's 23 people who have joined together to try and push forward all this in and around Barcelona. And how did that happen? Well, we used to meet to have a drink, to have a beer, and to pat our backs, to pat each other's backs, and to share things. So we decided to create an association to precisely be that, be a space of where people would meet, and to share this with the public administration, and to spread it out and disseminate through companies. And the important thing is to promote urban participation and disseminating it through citizens who could see what we were doing. So we found out that in Paris, this 48 hours agriculture and urban green in Paris was done. They'd been doing it for 5 or 6 years. There's people from France here. It's done in many French towns and in Belgium as well. So we said, let's do the same. So we got in touch with Paris, and we made a twinship with them, and we were inspired by them. So it's 48 hours. You do 48 hours open architecture. So we wanted to do it for agriculture. And this was May this year. So we didn't know what was going to happen about COVID. So we tried to mix it. And we made some debates, some 10 online debates with 35 speakers, over 7 hours production, talking about different productions, from legalizing urban agriculture and school messes and school canteens. And the person who's the oldest has been growing food in Barcelona, a gentleman aged 98. And we wanted citizens to be part of this, so we did 73 on-site experiences to show people what we were doing, but asking people what they wanted to show, what they were doing in their houses and what type of project we could have done. And this project was done together with the municipality of Barcelona and the consortium of Besòs, the consortium. So we wanted to be in touch also with the peri-urban part of the town, like what the person from Rosario spoke, the green belt around the town. So we also did other experiences like La Ponderosa and other areas of the Besòs River area. So we communicated this through networks, social networks. How many people are here not from Barcelona? From what cities are you? Please raise your hand if you're not from Barcelona. And we can do 48 hours in every possible town. So next year, we're doing this next edition. We want to do more things with networking, and we want to make it in presence. So we'd like you to join in and to join us at the 48 hours. Thank you.
Vale, pues nada, primero muchas gracias por invitarnos a explicar este proyecto de Match.
Thank you for inviting us, the Match Impulsa. This is a project created from a public, institutional, private and university collaboration, the Universitat of Betül, the University of Catalonia and the Municipality of Barcelona. We want to create a digital platform of we want to include in this the food. This is within a cathedral, a faculty. This is an academic institution, a public administration, and through the Economic Agency of Barcelona. There's a space for social and entrepreneurial activity and public activity, and the program serves as a space and the results of the cooperation of public policies between the research group Demons of the Open University of Catalonia and Barcelona. This is a plan which is created as an impact, as a shock plan, and it is a clear visualization that digitalization is a relevant element, as we also mentioned in the previous conversation, of the new channel for marketing and food exchange. It has been a key element. It was really obvious. The growth and digitalization is as a channel. And that is where the program is taking place. When we talk about digitalization and we talk about food, there is a holistic approach to digitalization. We approach food and sustainability for governance, the economic model, and the technology, the technological architecture of the platform, and how knowledge is disseminated and how to create impact, and whether the social liabilities is different. of digitalization projects which have an extracting component, then digitalization models which are coherent or consistent with this element. The Match Impulsa project, I only have 2 minutes. It's very little to explain a complex program, but it is developed on different levels. There are some gender empowering elements, and any person who is interested can join in, and they can receive the empowerment training. Over 100 trainings are carried out. People can join in for free and have access to this training. As you can see, the modules are holistic, and they touch upon all those elements, including digitalization. There's an acceleration process which is supporting 20 projects. It's called Match Impulsa 20 to personalize the type of promotion. These are the 20 organizations, 27 organizations that participated. It is very cross-sectional. There are many projects linked to food. And these activities must generate cooperation. Now we are doing prototypes out of these 27 organizations. Some of them have participated or are interested in participating in the Match Impulsa 10. And then there is a participation in prototyping with a microfinancing campaign to support, to provide economic resources to promote this. The program has the intention is that creating matches. We're not going to promote digital platforms without bearing in mind the matching with all the gender issues. So we also use this to improve the gender perspective of the participating organization. We do Match T, which is a Match Tech, and Match University, because university is also a matching space between organizations that can participate on research, university. Very quickly, the impact. We have 150 participants, mostly women or non-binary people, and within the cooperative associations and solidarity systems. And what we achieved is that there is an ecosystem of ecosystems, part of public sector, universities, civil society, and other parts which we have not analyzed yet, and we shall do it in the next few months. Thank you.
En todas las charlas que doy hay...
Whenever I need to speak, there are technical issues. It's going to be me.
Sí, una ayudita.
A little help? No? I am a wine producer, and we had a drink, and so we start from the third slide. I am going to explain a very specific situation, a collaboration, public-private. It is the project Cancalopa de Dalt. It is a project, as I said, which combines the initiative of the Barcelona municipality in our activity. We're a cooperative or social initiative created in 1974 in the non-irrigation Catalonia, in a village of 100 population, a project that combined people with different functionality and the agroalimentary production of quality that was wine and oil. The other part of the project is the municipality of Barcelona, which in the year 2000, with an idea led by the mayor, decides that Barcelona as a capital of the Mediterranean had to have a vineyard, an official vineyard, as many cities in Europe, in Lisbon and Montpellier, there are vineyards. We visited them. In Paris, there's a vineyard, in Montmartre, Lausanne, and the mayor thought that could be a good idea, but sometimes good ideas are difficult to be implemented. It was a protested project run by the civil society at that time, and the project started in the year 2000. In 2004, 2005, the collaborator of the Barcelona municipality proposed to make an association to give a social value to the project and a wider scope. That's when we enter. After 5 years conversation, we get in at 2010 the Masia Cancalopa de Dalt, which is within the municipality of Barcelona, but it is in the north, on the north side of the Collserola, near Valdellera and Molins del Rey. And in these years of public-private collaboration, we have collaborated to recover the Masia, and the institutional wine of the municipality is marketed. It's a wine you can buy, and I invite you to drink it. We're not only making wine, but we understand the Masia is a small nucleus of agroalimentary production. It is very small. It is very related to the heritage of Catalonia, and we go look at other productions. We do oil at Collserola, and we also do other proximity agricultural productions. We open a wine cellar where wine can be tasted together with food, because that is something which is very interesting. Wine is always to be had with food, and the Masia is becoming a space for debate. We promote dialects at Cancalopa. The dialogue was always, it has always been a space of mutual help between neighbors, and this is something that we wanted to promote, the dialogues between neighbors. What we're inspired by, the wine of Barcelona. It is not an arrival point, but a starting point. We think that wine is a product that's been for 2,000 years in our culture. It arrived 1,500 years before tomato or potatoes, so it is part of our culture. It is not an elite when you talk about quality wine, but it can be the ambassador and dynamizer for many things. It is a tool for participation of civil society, and we're now restructuring the vineyard through crowdfunding initiatives and other collaboration initiatives. We understand this vineyard has to be rebuilt in the respect of local realities and the varieties which are going to be planted now. There's an agreement with the agricultural studies of Catalonia, so that we go back to history and we respect this singular terroir, which is Collserola, and to understand that a bottle of wine has to have an economic value. It has to let us live. So this price, the fair price that Alejandro was mentioning, it gives us the possibility of living within the social society, the social economy, but these are not costs, but it is something we give back to society. There is a gastronomic quality, respect for manual work, biodiversity, and a healthy value, respect of a landscape, ecological culturing, social inclusion. So this wine carries with it all these values that we defend. To close, reflecting, thinking about the future, I've liked a lot what Rosario did. It is a very good idea. 30 years later, what do we ask the public administration? Well, we ask for agriculture, and for the support of this project, we ask for long-term policies which do not depend on the political color of the managers, but there is a generous leadership and ideas that go beyond people. Agriculture is an activity of long term, and to make it viable, we have to approach it in this way. We have to think that many agricultural successful companies are over 100 or 200 years old. And another element we think is very important is the financial support, the material support to these projects. Often urban agriculture projects have very good ideas at the beginning of it, but they couldn't be capitalized like any structure, even a small scale. agroalimentary food, but in this case, there's a need for a decided support on the part of the public sector with different formulas, but we have to think that in our case, we experimented that urban agriculture is a heroic activity because there's vandalism, there are animals, we are far from producers of machines and technology, so we need a strong support from the public sector and from the citizens who, fortunately, the citizens are already waiting for, are going for us, but the administration is often lagging behind. So hoping that Barcelona is a model and an example, it is a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Estamos afuera del...
We've run out of time, but we started a little late, so if you like, we can give 5 minutes to, depending on how you are, to ask a few questions to these last experiences that were presented. So if you want to ask or comment, or between you, maybe you're really hungry and you want to go? Any question? No? No?
Vale. ¿Pasas? Gracias.
I una molt concreta, tenen algun retorn?
Podéis hablar en castellano porque el traductor es en castellano, gracias.
Vale. El payés, cuando vamos a espigar los campos...
When we go to the field, we don't pay the producer, and one of the things we generate to producers is visibility of showing the citizens that 10 kilometers from where they live, there's food being planted. So the producers, when we make marmalades and things, we buy the raw material from local producers, yes. Well, if that's it. Oh, yes, there's a question there.
No he escuchado toda la sesión, pero...
I haven't heard everything, but I have a feeling that the relationship between Barcelona municipality and civil society and NGOs is quite good. That is, it works. Many of you seem to be receiving financing. That is my feeling. Maybe I'm wrong. My question is, I work in countries, in developing countries, in the south, in the global south, and in many cities, the relationship between the municipality and NGOs is not easy. There are conflicts, or at least there's a rejection of the efforts of the NGOs that then the NGOs make. So what are your experiences that could help organizations in other countries to have better relationship with the municipalities, or the other way around? How can we convince municipalities of seeing the advantages, the possibilities of collaborating with NGOs? Who wants to answer? Well, this is a very complex question, but in Barcelona, I think we have an advantage, a historical advantage in the whole of Catalonia, that is, historically, the social tissue has been very powerful. Since forever, Barcelona had a cooperative tradition. It was very wide, 60, 70 cooperatives spread all over the city. And in food, there are 60 cooperatives in the town, cooperatives for food, and therefore we have cooperative supermarkets, and there are cooperations, therefore, with producers. So it is not so much what the municipality can do, but what the civil society has done to create this space and to be heard. So, of course, when the municipality policies make the civil society be better heard, then so much the better. But we are there. The association movement has always been very strong in Barcelona, in spite of the fact that during a very long period of time there was a dictatorship, and therefore the role of civil society has been key. I would say that the question, or the best way of reinforcing the role of relationship between civil society and institutions, is that it's a civil society that is capable of getting organized, or at least that's my idea. I had a question for Hürrem from Turkey. I was surprised by the presence of volunteers in activities of the public sector, for activities that public sector normally carry out. So what was the reason? How did you manage to have these volunteers? What was the motivation? What goals were established for them? And how did you get that response from them?
Sorry. First of all, I will say that I can see our volunteers are coming together for the same topic, so same problem. That makes them more powerful, or that makes their effort more valuable and more sustain. Not sustainable, sustain. Because, for example, in August, we had several fires at our forests. I guess all over Europe had similar environmental issues this year. And after that fires in the forests, our citizens, our people get more motivated for being a part of an environmental movement. I felt it. For that waste management project, that made them attracted, in my opinion. But for the rest of things we do in Mezitli, the volunteers are really volunteer for doing something for Mezitli and for their city, because I think they know we are, as a municipality, as a local authority, we are really open for all. And our mayor was sitting here while I was doing my presentation. He opens the municipality's door and his door to everyone who wants to do something for others or for her or himself. Is it open? Okay, it's clear.
Quería comentar una cosa.
I wanted to mention something. I was thinking about the question that Mr. asked that gentleman. How can you improve? Maybe choosing a star project, a small project, where you can show what you want to show, to be a pest and copy something that's already working elsewhere, like the 48 hours that it already worked in Paris, so they helped us and we launched it and we proved that it was possible. So you find a sponsor within the public side that helps you, and I would recommend to do that, to choose something little that you can really promote, and then if you don't have this history behind you of civil society participation, you can still do it.
Bueno, gracias. ¿Alguien más quiere intervenir?
Anyone else? Okay. Well, in that case, thank you so much. Thank you, all the participants. I think it has been a very good show of the power, but coming both from abroad and all those possibilities, I should say, of alliances, both from abroad and from Barcelona. Thank you.